All right. So, lesson 5, okay? Fat loss system reliability. First and foremost, you may not think you're doing anything, or there's not a system right now, but the outcome that you currently have, right? Whatever the state of your body is, you have a perfect system that has caused that outcome, okay? It's just that this outcome is undesirable, so we want to become aware of the system and put into place a system that's going to give us the outcome that we want reliably. Okay, so system reliability is it's a concept in ecology, okay, and also in engineering as well. But the idea here is very simple. The reliability of any system, meaning the likelihood of a given outcome happening based on any system which would have multiple components, is a product, meaning multiplication of all the different components. Okay, so a simple one, let's say, I have a AC and a heater, right? A furnace. The probability of that system giving me the desired outcome, which is heating in the house, is going to be, what's the components of that? Okay, the components are, is the gas bill paid for? Is the breaker on for the heater? And then the switch, the human behavior part of when I hit the switch, right? Um, it'll turn on. So if the likelihood of the gas bill being paid is, let's say, 90%, and then the likelihood that the breaker is on is, let's say, 100%. 100 times 90% is 90%. Then the likelihood that the human presses the buttons, probability is 100. Let's say 90%. You got 100 times 90 times 90. So now you got 81%, right? Because 90 times 90 is 81. Let's say the likelihood that the bill is actually 70%, that you paid the bill is 70%. Now you see that the numbers get smaller and smaller, okay? Same goes with training. With training, or with fat loss, the three components. Now, here's how you drive up the reliability of a system. One, you eliminate as many components as possible, okay? And then two, you drive up the least reliable part, okay? So if you had a system with 5 components and four of them were 90 and one of them was 20, and 3 of them were not necessary, just removing 3 components and then driving up that last lowest component up would increase the reliability of that system. So with fat loss, people have a lot of different components, number one. And so we want to boil it down to the 3 main components, okay? And so I put training over there as the easy part. Let's see if we can see this over here. So training is the easy part, right? And I just kind of mark that as 70 to 95% reliability, because even if you do the worst program, it's still going to give you what you want for the most part, right? So, and then obviously as you get better at, if you choose a more, like if you were strength training with me, then that, or a really good coach or whatever, or you're doing really good strength training, you're going up 95%, whatever. The main thing here is going to be nutrition, calories, right? Because we've been talking about fat loss and how it's physics and how it's all about the atoms and the carbs, fats, and proteins. If you hit your calories enjoyably, okay, then the reliability of the system is 95%. You're going to get what you want, and probably beyond what you can imagine, okay? Now, this underneath here is, now especially if you use the friction index, meaning you drive friction down as much as possible and you drive calorie density down as much as possible, and then you drive enjoyment up and protein up, So you guys can see how this ties back into, some of the other ideas that we've talked about. But the friction index is, the more friction points there are in what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to do it, the less likelihood that I'm going to get what I want. Okay. So like if I'm trying to make a really complicated thing and I'm only going to eat organic and I'm only going to, I'm going to avoid all these 50 things, like you're going to make, the friction is very high. Or if you're using a recipe that has like 30 steps, like that's high friction, right? The least reliable component in most systems, human behavior. Okay, so this comes down to getting yourself to do the things you need to do. What is that? So this is the human behavior part, and we're going to keep this one short because we're going to dive into this a little bit separately in the next few videos. But the question here becomes, is the human well taken care of? If the human is not taken care of, okay, then the likelihood that you're going to do the thing that you need to do to get the result you want is going down, right? So which is why we always talk about, so I always talk about, like no self-judgment. Like whatever you're thinking and feeling, it's acceptable, it's allowable, and having equanimity and not getting too high, not getting too low. This allows you to be more well taken care of, right? At the end of the day, if you're feeling shitty, you're not gonna, it's hard to do the stuff that you need to do if you're not feeling good, right? And so some of the pieces of this that I'm just gonna introduce right now that really make this difficult is some of these words right here. Why, right? Like always needing a why for everything. Like, oh, why did this happen? Or oh, why did that, like, try. If you're actually saying you're gonna try something, then like the likelihood that you do it is very low, right? Like Yoda says, there is no try. You either do it or you don't. Trying just adds all kinds of other crap. A big one, should. We're not even gonna get into this, but like should is a big problem. There's no should. Same with goes need. Like I need to do XYZ. I just need to do blah blah blah. No good. But and when, right? So like I think I can do this, but, right? And then just when, like the question of like, when is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? When is it going to, like, if you think about these words right here, you can feel like they're not, there's like a undesirable state of being that you get when you even think about them, right? So, and then the last big piece here is guilt and shame, which we'll go a little bit deeper. I don't want to make this video too long. And the bottom piece of this, okay? So how do you make sure the human is well taken care of? And that goes into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so I want to spend a little bit of time on that, so we'll make another video. But the big picture here is, your training is going to be, is not that, no, it's hard to mess up. Do something, you'll be fine. Nutrition, if you hit your calories that I give you, you will lose fat. The hard part, and I don't even want to say it's hard, the part that we need to focus on so that we make this as smooth as possible is the human behavior part. And that's why I emphasize so much like injecting the peace and the calm and the enjoyability, or the enjoyment, I'm just making up words, enjoyment into the process, right? Not getting too crazy about, oh, I did this, I like no self-judgment, no, beating yourself up all the time. And if you can get this, probability of you losing fat goes way, way up, okay? And just some of the practical implications of this is like, when you, let's say you have a tough day at work and you're frustrated and you get in an argument, it's going to be a little bit more like, not necessarily, but the probability that you go work out and hit your macros and, drink a lot of water, it tends to go down because we get frustrated. It doesn't have to. We can develop the skills. That's why equanimity is important. Like if I get in an argument with somebody and like they're being very uncooperative, I want to have enough equanimity and skills where I can still, like, I'm not going to just go blow it and like eat, a full pizza by myself and just blow my calories out of the water. I want to have equanimity and gratitude and appreciation and calmness and a light touch, as I've been mentioning, that I'm still going to do what I need to do, because inevitably me hitting the targets and doing stuff for myself is going to make me feel better. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. So I will see you guys in the next video. Shout out JD, Hustle Tech 2.0, part of the culture. I will see you in the next one. And didn't do a quick review today, but we'll do the review in the next one. You already know what it is. In fact, I would love for you to send me in the comments or in the Telegram, better to send me in the Telegram, like the quick review of like what actually matters for fat loss.